Welcome to the Rethreading Lives podcast, where we talk about how to take your threads of harm and through the rethreaded process, transform them into something that actually helps you reach your potential. We'll talk with different leaders in our city and our country and find out what they're doing. You'll walk away from listening to this podcast with useful insights and captivating stories on how you yourself can rethread your life and your business. I'm Kristin Keene, and this is the Rethreading Lives podcast. Hello, Rethreading Lives podcast listeners and viewers. Welcome to Recap. We are going to be looking at Michael Howland's podcast today. This is a person, like, after the podcast, I was like, I want to know you more. The paradox in his life that he's holding, he has had this amazing career. He has impacted the world. In every organization he's gone through, he has grown it. He has grown their impact, and he's done that in businesses. He's done that in nonprofits. He loves his family, and he just got diagnosed with an incurable heart disease. So he's carrying these amazing paradoxes in his life. And I feel like we just got to scratch the surface in our conversation about the depths of his wisdom. So let's take a listen.
The doctor said to me, we're going to get to your teeth, but what's wrong with your heart? And I said, what do you mean? And he said, well, your blood pressure is off the chart. You never had that? I said, no. And he said, we'll check it again. And sure enough, it was. And that led me to go to have an echo and stress test and all of that. And they said, your heart is not good. But they couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. And I said, well, am I going to have surgery? And they said, no, this will give us a benchmark, come back in a year. Well, I knew something was wrong. So I really dedicated myself to getting in the best possible shape that I could. I gave up red meat. I gave up drinking. I gave up, I made an effort to eat healthier and to exercise like crazy. It's really when I took up swimming. And I went back a year later, and they said, you're healthier, but your heart is worse. And so ultimately, to make a long story short, Mayo, after a lot of tests, told me that I had a very, very rare disease called amyloidosis. In fact, cardiac amyloidosis. And what happens is your liver is sending proteins that don't come together, and they get deposited in an organ, in my case, my heart. And so, they said there's a new drug that was approved by the FDA last year. And they said, with that, you should have, a good 5-6 years to live. Now, in retrospect, what they didn't tell me at the time was that most of the people that were on this brand new drug had probably had this disease for a lot longer than me. But, they said 5 to 6 years. 3.5 years later, I'm in better shape than I was 3.5 years ago. And they said that it's, right now it's not progressing. So I just have to continue to lead a really healthy life and hope that, medical research is so great that one of these days they're going to come up with a cure. But I just made a commitment to myself that I wasn't going to let it define me.
I'm just going to pause on that one statement. I made a decision that I wasn't going to let this define me. That's so good. Because I feel like I got stuck at some point in my life where I was letting my pain that had happened to me define me, instead of taking responsibility for the pain and dealing with it and moving through it. I got stuck. And I love that is his response. I decided, it's so good.
I was really blessed to have this disease for God's glory, and that God has me one way or the other. And if I die tomorrow, I'll live a great life. I've lived a great life, and I'm very happy about it. And I know that I'll go to an even better place. But it's, that's been part of my journey as well.
Okay. This is why my life is changing when I'm sitting here listening to these podcasts. The movement, I call it the turn. And I'm finding that people that reach their potential and overcome hard things have a turn in their life where they're faced with this really hard thing. And at some point, they turn towards faith. They turn towards something bigger than them. They turn towards acceptance. They turn towards responsibility. I mean, Katrina did it with her daughter. I remember Megan doing it in her podcast. And now I hear Michael do the same thing. There's a turning of trust. And I think that turn is what protects hearts from bitterness. I remember my junior year of high school. I mean, you're young, you're still learning. And I just remember I was so angry. My parents had gotten divorced. I was actually internally miserable. And I sat on this rock and I said, Jesus, I will follow you if when I go home, I'm not angry anymore. And I went home back to the same situation I came from. I didn't do anything different. And I was still angry. And I was like, whatever, God, you're not real. And I kind of had like this moment where I was like, I just did whatever I wanted and did my own thing, which led to not great things, some bitterness. And I turned the other way. And I just think it's beautiful and courageous. And I'm a little envious of people who figure out the turn earlier. Remember Shirley, you're right. And Shirley and Stephanie made the turn in their podcast too. It's beautiful. How do you see time differently now? That's a great question. I'm just going to back on myself. That was a great question. This was one of the things I really wanted to know, because right now in my life, I still live like my time is endless. Like I'm not going to run out. I'm 47. I'll be 48 soon. And I'm still living like I have time. And I don't know if that stops me from living on purpose. So I always wonder what would happen if I knew I had limited time, and how would I live my life differently? How would I live on purpose more?
Well, first of all, I look at every day as a gift. There's just no two ways about it. And that really started with amyloidosis diagnosis. But, I have over the last 4 months lost three very, very close friends, all of whom I expected to die long before. And, that has just reaffirmed that you've got to seize the opportunities, and that includes the opportunities to tell people that you love them or that they've made an impact on your life. I just think that's so important, and so I'm trying to do a lot more of that.
I love this. My first thought was, how it changed. Every day's a gift, right? There's gratitude. There's thankfulness for all the things. And that's the same thing that I see in Shirley. If you listen to the first podcast, she's a survivor leader in our community, and gratitude is her superpower, because she's overflowing with it because she got her life back. And maybe that's part of the secret to your view on time is, to Shirley, she got her life back and it is a gift. And Michael has limited time on his life, and life is a gift. Does it feel, I'm just asking all my honesty questions, does it feel panicky? Like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have enough time?
No, it
No.
really doesn't. I really have a sense of peace about it. And I think and I think that really does go back to the fact that, I know that I'm either going to continue to be able to do these things, or that I'm going to go to an even better life with God. And so I really do feel a sense of incredible peace.
So have you said everything to your family? I mean, have you almost like said goodbye just in case? I mean, how does that look in your life?
No, I really haven't said goodbye, but I am cherishing every opportunity that I have to spend quality time with them. And, it's really fun for me right now to see my oldest son in Leadership Jacksonville and doing all these things in the community. And, to get to hear stories about these funny things that he has done and everything else. And I recently got to go see him speak to the Lawyers Roundtable. And, that's tremendous. But I don't miss the opportunity to tell them how much I love them.
Oh, so this is so good. I love this part because I don't know if it comes across in the podcast, but I can literally feel Michael's joy when he's talking about his son and like his pride and his love for him. And there's so many beautiful stories on this podcast from Michael where he talks about the way that he showed love was different than what his family received. And it's almost so sometimes his family felt like he was withdrawing love. And now it's kind of like his heart is free to adore his children, to speak that openly. Oh, it's something I wish I could learn right now in my healthy state. So that's a change. Is that a change?
Yeah, it really is. Yes. I mean, I won't say that I wasn't like this cold hard dad that never said I love you to my kids.
I can't imagine.
But, I think that they sense that it is far more genuine, maybe. So.
From a deeper place, a different place, vulnerable place.
Yeah, exactly.
I know. And I'll just touch here a little bit about the vulnerability, because openness is part of the Rethreaded process. And I do struggle with time because I have ADHD, don't have executive function. I feel deeply grounded in my purpose at this moment in my life. I've always had vision about how the world can be different. I have friends who love me dearly. I have a community. And I always land on openness is really what I struggle with. And putting myself out there. First of all, to be honest with what is about the hard things and the yuck stuff and saying I'm sorry and making amends. And then like also the good stuff. Vulnerability to being loved, vulnerability to letting myself be seen. And honestly, that's probably where blame and shame hit me the most and take me out of the game. So I love hearing Michael's story, how he has this gift of time. When his view of time was changed, it changed how open he was. And maybe that is something for us to ponder as we look at our life. So yeah, many blessings on you, Michael. I'm continuing to learn from you. Thank you for your work. And listeners, hold that question. Let me know if you have any insights. Comment, subscribe, listen, tell your friends, have great conversations with your friends about this. And thank you so much for listening.